welcome to the Real Raw Real podcast. And today, myself, Bishane, Yolanda, and Stephanie have a very special guest. Super excited to chat with her. If you've been to CCTS, you know that she is one of the most charismatic people we have seen. She walks the catwalk like no other, and the cat ears are perfect for this.
Yes.
Yes. So today
Love
we are
it.
chatting. I do too. I love it. Today we are chatting with the Dr. Fit Jess, also known as Jessica Wilson, two-time Olympian. Did I get that right? Two-time?
Two times.
All right. Two-time bikini Olympian. And we have the pleasure of having her as our first guest. So how are you doing, Miss Jess?
Oh my gosh, Randy, Yolanda, Steph. I am through the moon. I'm like over the moon. This is so fun. And I just learned that I am the inaugural guest. So that just makes this even more special. So I'm really honored to have been invited and to be on this podcast with such amazing women that I have met through, hey, Cuties Conquering the Stage. But unified through bodybuilding, which is obviously kind of the main glue that holds us together here. But I'm really excited to be here. And
thank you for accepting our invite. Yes.
Exactly. Thank
We really
you.
appreciate it.
So,
absolutely.
being that you are our inaugural, you probably don't know a whole lot about our podcast yet. Um, and at this juncture, we have not launched, but shortly after this, we will. But we call it the Real Raw Real, right? So we want you to be as authentic as possible. Real Raw Real for us is just transparent, honest, vulnerable, all of the things that you feel comfortable sharing. And so we like to say that this is not your ordinary bikini pod. We're not talking about, not necessarily talking about, how to train better, how to do this or how to do that, but we want to know about real life, right? Like most of us that are competitors have full-time jobs and competing is literally a hobby. And so what we want to shed light on is that aspect, like how you merge or how you balance competition life and work life or life, all of the things. Work life or life. So that's kind of what we want to dig in today. And I knew probably last year, before this podcast ever even was thought of or conceived, that I would just love to talk to you. You are such a compelling speaker, like very compelling speaker, and you literally brought some real raw real to CCTS, not only last year, but this year, right? So before we dive into that, can you tell us a little bit about yourself for the people who may not be familiar with you yet?
Absolutely. Gosh, Brandy, I'm like getting emotional. It's like I can feel that energy from when I did share, as a speaker. And I'm just really excited. So guys, if I'm like talking too fast, just slow me down. Or if
Be excited.
I'm just really excited. So my mind tends to go all over the place, but you definitely brought me back to, that experience this year and the year prior. But who am I? Right? Like that's what the people want to know. So
yeah.
So I'm a bikini pro, clearly, as I was introduced here, two-time Olympian, made it to the Olympia for the first time at the age of 40. So that is something that I am very excited about to share with other women that are closer to my age group or beyond, but really for everyone in this community. Now, where did I come from? So I'm a native New Yorker, born and raised in Manhattan. However, even though I was born here in the United States, I was raised real Dominican. So my heritage from Dominican Republic, and my mom came to this country, gosh, late 70s, not knowing a single word of English, and made it for herself. had me a few years afterward, did end up raising me as a single mother, and I was her only child. So that's, to give you a little bit of idea of the kind of grit that is within my soul. That's definitely an important part of my backstory. So seeing my mom being this role model, and that's really who I saw around me, definitely had an impact in my life. Now, English was my second language. So I did learn Spanish before English. And again, I grew up raised with that different heritage. So I was watching Spanish soap operas and a show called Sábado Gigante. For all the Spanish folk out there, you'll know, unless you guys are familiar with it. But big game show. It's a big and primetime Spanish television. So I grew up learning there. I didn't have Sesame Street. I didn't have all those other things that kids here in the United States were exposed to. So when I ended up going to school, it was an interesting experience. I ended up on the special van because I was ESL. And I was always that little girl, like basically what you see now, just bring that back, like to that 4 or 5 year old, the really gregarious little girl that just wanted to be friends with everybody, the little girl that loved animals, and I always knew I wanted to be a veterinarian since I was like teeny. What I didn't realize is, in getting to that point of my life where I accomplished that goal of getting that career, I realized more and more how much I really, even though I love the animals and that will never, ever change, they are my first love, but my love of people evolved quite substantially. I'm, in taking that oath of becoming a veterinarian and serving the public health and serving animals, I realized I'm serving people. I'm truly, really serving people, which is a very kind of foreign concept for a lot of individuals that want to go into the veterinary field, because we're all about the animals, right? Like, we didn't want to be human physicians because, ew, people are gross. It's just kind of thrown around a whole lot. So I see the scrubs, girl. So I know you know what I mean. And so through the years, and guys, again, I'm over 40 now. So the majority of my life was within that world. And I realized, man, I really love to help people. I can do that through their animals, but this evolved as well. And stumbling into bodybuilding, which I know we're going to get into the how, that has opened so many more doors. Because another thing about me as a child, so I wanted to work with animals, I wanted to help people, but I always envisioned, and this is wild, so like go back and pay attention to what you dreamt of as a child. Like, I mean, little child, those big dreams that seem really crazy. Like, I want to be an astronaut. I want to be this. I want to be, guess what? You can make that happen. So I, very oddly enough, as a little kid, always envisioned that I was going to live in California. Don't know why. I'm the New Yorker, by the way, that's never going to leave because nothing else is out there, right? But I'm like, I'm going to end up in California. I'm going to be on a stage someday. I didn't know what that was, but I knew I was going to create impact. I was going to be able to reach a lot of people. I just didn't know what the message was or the why or any of that. But I'm like living my childhood dream, which is wild. I'm not even kidding. So that's a little bit about my backstory, because I'm not just a bodybuilder, guys. We're a whole lot more, all of us. So
right, and that's exactly what we want to bring to this, to our little corner of the podcast world. So I appreciate you sharing that. I actually didn't know you were from New York, Manhattan, New York, all the things. It's funny because I'm in Manhattan, Kansas. And it's apparently like one of the meccas for like vet schools, Kansas State. My two neighbors are actually in veterinary schools. So I think that's pretty awesome. I also think it's kind of rare, to see somebody who knew exactly what they wanted to be when they grew up and then actually become that. Because I could say I've had a lot of things that I've wanted to be. And then my mind has changed so much, growing up. There's so many things that you can do and you can be. So I think that it's incredibly special and super awesome that you actually did that.
Let's kind of start it right there, though. Like just listening to that, I'm like, wow, for you to follow through and execute something that you dreamt of from such a young age. That's really amazing. Like, what do you feel it was that really kept you on track and motivated to hit these very specific goals at
Yeah.
that age to now? Like, that's amazing. Like, what really helped guide you in all of those stages to keep that
Woo!
going and push
Right.
those goals?
Or what
Getting the
animal?
chills. Well, the cats. It's always the cat. I don't know. Well, you could see my little Peter Parker, my little terrier. I'm like, where's my finger? But there's like the cheetah. Where's my? There it is. Like, I gotta go this way. The little cheetah print, and I've got my two wild cats that I actually met in person. Well, they're on the wall. I can't move the camera necessarily, but in South Africa, I got to meet a few big cats and work on some big cats. So I'm a crazy cat lady. I mean, maybe I'm not crazy, but I'm definitely a cat person. I'm an everything person, but cats have always captured my heart. And so it was a cat that confirmed and solidified. It was my very, very, very first cat when I was tiny, and I begged my mom. Now, another thing I didn't mention is I grew up poor, like poor. So, welfare, food stamps, housing assistance, all of it. Mom worked in factories. She took me to them because there was no childcare. And man, it's like if labor laws found out the things, it would not be good. But
Right, like,
answer,
let me cover my ears.
Like, let me just, back in the day in the 80s. Yes. But she worked in a lot of the textile factories. So again, the fumes and the glues and all of that. Yeah, I got exposed to all of that. Explain some things. But she did what she had to do. So she always, and I'm going to get to your question, Yolanda. I'm going to get to that. What is it? What pushed me. So my mom, and even until this day, when she has her mind to something, she just doesn't see another possibility. Period. Like, it's just not another option is just not, it's not something that computes. And I think I inherited some of that, because when I make my mind up about something, this is like the first time I'm admitting this, you guys, when I make my mind up about something, it's already done. And I believe that's the truth for everyone. When you decide, it's done. It's done. You just got to line up with it, right?
Yeah.
So what I think pushed me, and I never thought I really did ever tap into the negativity. Because I'm again, you ladies know me, like, I'm very positive and I'm very optimistic. But I think now, thinking back, it was the failure. The failure is what kept me on track. So I didn't get into veterinary medical school right away. Just like I didn't go pro right. Well, I kind of went pro kind of quickly, but I didn't get to that Olympia stage for years. So,
Gotcha.
So I very clearly remember the no's. So like when I'm a little girl and I'm like, I want to be an animal doctor. I couldn't say the word veterinarian at that age, but I'm like, I want to be an animal doctor. And my mom's like, oh, you don't want to work with people? Like, you don't want to be a real doctor? That's triggering words. You don't want to be a real doctor? And I'm like, Mom, I want to help the animals. People, bleh. I don't want to help people. They can help themselves. So I had that knowledge as a child, but that was the first no, right? And I told her, I'm like, Mom, I'm doing this. And culturally, from my background, animals, it's different today. And I'm speaking of, like, this is the 80s. Back then, it's like, it's a dog, it's a cat. Like, if they're not useful, meaning if they're not a cat that's like a mouser and having a job in whatever the environment is, or a dog that's going to be a guard dog, or, something to that effect, it's like, get sick, just get another one. Like, it wasn't seen as a valuable member of the family, that sort of thing. And of course, thinking about livestock, and my mom came from like the country. So it was donkeys, livestock, chickens, animals are food. So that was the first no. And I'm like, nope, I'm doing it. I don't care what you say. And then little by little, she kind of came around and realized how serious I really was, even as a child. Her biggest concern was my safety. You know, oh my gosh, you're going to get bit, which I've been bit before. Oh my God, you're going to get hurt. You're going to get rabies. And I've been there. No, I didn't get rabies. I didn't die, but I'm vaccinated for that. But that's a long story. But her concern was, oh my God, my little girl is going to get hurt. And once I was able to show her through my experience with animals how good I am with them and how skilled I am with them, she just backed off and understood. Now fast forwarding to high school. So everything in my life was academics. I never did any sports. I never did anything outside of like just go to school. I did choir. I did some things that I could do where my mom could loosen the rope a little bit. I was very shielded, very overprotected. There's a reason. I understand it now as an adult. So my mom didn't really let me do a lot of activities, and we couldn't afford it. So that was another factor as well. So fast forward to high school, I'm applying now to my undergrad. So I knew I had to go to undergrad, get a degree, and then apply to veterinary medical school. I remember going to the admissions counselor in Fordham University. This was Fordham University. Very, very high accolades. It's not an Ivy League, but it's almost there. And I had to apply through the minority programs. That was really kind of my only way in. And I remember going and being interviewed by this gentleman. And he told me, and he was minority as well, of Indian descent. And he's like, you're never going to make it as a doctor. You're never going to make it into vet school. Your grades are not good enough. You're not good enough. Wow. And I sat, and they were going to give me a full scholarship. They were going to give me a full ride. Like they were going to give me a full ride. And I just felt like, sir, you do not line up with my integrity and what I believe is possible. I didn't say all of that. I didn't have the wisdom yet, but I didn't react. I thanked him for his time. I shook his hand and I walked out and I declined them. And I'm like, oh crap, that was dumb. They were going to give me a full ride. Like, what do I do now? And so that was another moment where like he sat me down and like minority to my, like, you know, because they put this kind of concept over our heads at the time where like we're minorities and this is the only route because you're not good enough for the other way to enter a school, which is normal application, right? Like you got the grades, you can do it. So you don't have money. They're not going to look at you for that. Well, there were other ways around that, but like that mentality of like, I could only go through these programs, that just didn't compute to me. So I declined them. I did end up going to NYU for my undergrad. Nice. And I did receive some scholarships, and I did go in through the HEOP program, which is the Higher Education Opportunity Program. And I realized I still wanted to be a vet, and they didn't have a pre-vet program. So like, what am I doing? Right. So I was discouraged. And I mean, I was again by the counselors at that institution discouraged about pursuing the career. They were like, yeah, you could go through the MD route, but yeah, this isn't looking too promising. So I'm like, screw this. How are we on profanity here? Because I'm a New Yorker.
No, you're fine.
Okay, so I'm like, fuck this shit.
That's what you want.
Oh wait, you're like, oh no, wait. We can bleep that out.
I was like, let me ask you, Londa. I don't have kids, so
sorry, girl. Well, it came out. Okay,
he's coming in and out of the room, but he's out.
I'm gonna just keep it. Okay. I'm just gonna keep it PG. I'm just gonna keep it PG. It's fine. It's fine. It's real. I'm just like, wait, we're real, right? I'm just gonna let it out. So I was like, this ish. Like, I'm gonna figure this out. So I just did it all on my own. And I think there was like one other student that was maybe toying with the idea of being pre-vet, but they weren't like, they didn't have the hunger. So I'm like, I want this. Like, I'm going to do this. They told me, not because I convinced myself that I was told I couldn't. I see the patterns now later in my life, but I'm like, nah, I want this. So I ended up working for an animal hospital in downtown New York City. And then doing that part-time, going to school, I ended up failing a class. I ended up failing. It was calculus, y'all.
Mm.
calculus. Ask me if I use any of that. No.
No
So
judgment here.
no. So actually I didn't end up failing it. I knew I was going to fail it. I knew I was going to fail it. You do the math. Failing calculus, do the math. You do the math and you figure out, oh man, I need like 100% and maybe some extra credit to actually get a C in this class. So I like did all that and I'm like, all right, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? All right, maybe this vet school thing is not for me. Like that. So I almost gave up, guys. It's going to come back around with bodybuilding, but I'm like, man, maybe this isn't for me. So I'm like, all right, let me switch my major. I'm going to go for psychology, just like everybody else in the school did. Let me go for psych and I'll just figure it out. Well, I then took that final exam and it was 2 days before Christmas. December. I don't remember what year. It was a long time. Oh my God, it was a long time ago. But I took that exam and it was like open book. The professor was super cool. I remember he was Spaniard and he loved that I was Dominican. We got along, but I was failing. Like it didn't matter. Like I was going to fail. But I took this final exam and I gave it my all. And I knew and he put a lot of extra credit because I wasn't the only student in the same boat. And I looked at this exam and I'm like, oh my God, I passed, like I got 100. I aced this and I got all the extra because it was like 20 extra points and extra credit. I'm like, I'm going to do this. Oh my God. Oh my God. So I go to him and I show it to him. Like it's all nonverbal. It's all nonverbal. And I show it to him and he's just nodding yes. And I'm like, dude, what do I do? Go to admin? Like, how do I fix it? Like I'll get a C. He's like, go to the administration right now and talk to them. So I did. And they're like, well, you have a withdrawal because that's what or it was a pass fail. And I'm like, no, I need a grade. Like I can do this. And they're like, well, you have to write a petition to rescind the pass fail or the withdrawal or whatever the heck it was. So I sat down there like Aaliyah and I wrote a 4-page letter and it was 2 days before Christmas. And I'm like, I just poured, I don't remember what I said. I just like poured my soul out and I'm like, listen, like long story short of the letter was, listen, this is my vocation. This is my calling. I want to be a vet. This class is like the one thing holding me back. Please, please, please. And they did it. They did it. They let me get a grade. So I'm like, whoo, calculus, that's done. So there was a no, like that helped me. But then it really confirmed like, no. I want to do this. This is my path. I got distracted. I lost a little faith, but I'm going to do this. So then I ended up, then physics came along and that was a whole other battle, but we made it. But then I applied for vet school. I applied for a bunch of them. And guess what happened? I didn't get in.
None of them.
Not a single one. So I'm like, well, how do I strengthen my application? Like that's where my brain was not like heartbroken. I was just like, all right, well, what do I got to do to strengthen it? No school got back to me to tell me why I didn't get in, not a single one, but I'm like, whatever, just blinders on. This is your mission. You're going to do this. And so that job I had in the veterinary hospitals evolved. So I ended up becoming a nurse, or a veterinary technician, unlicensed, but doing the same job functions, in the state of New York, which is not exactly legal, but that was 20 years ago. So I applied again, second time. Guess what happened?
You got in.
No.
No?
No, I didn't get in. I applied to the same schools. I applied to a few others and nope, didn't get in, didn't even get an interview. So I'm like, damn, all right, I'm going to give it. Okay. It's fine. So you have to wait a whole year. I'm like, it's fine. Let me take the GRE again, see if I can get that score better. I didn't, but it's fine. I'm just not that impressive on paper, basically. So I'm praying that whole year where I'm leading into applying the third time. And I'm like, somebody just interview me. I just need an interview. They just have to meet me because if they what they see on paper, not that impressive. Okay, fine. Just please, someone interview me. And then guess what happened?
Please tell me you got an interview.
I got one. So I did get an interview. I got an interview. I interviewed, and it was an island school. So it was my first. Keep in mind, I'm the New Yorker that's never going to leave. Well, I got into vet school in the Caribbean. So,
oh wow,
I'm like, all right, this is okay. The only school that let me in. So I did it. So I went, and vet school was rough, but I mean, once I learned to play as hard as I worked, it was cake. It was cake. Not to
Nice.
say it wasn't hard, but
Right.
just the way that I could cope with it all and the pressures, it became so much more manageable once I learned to play. I had to play.
Hmm.
That's all. It
Hmm.
wasn't just school, school, school all the time. And so it was a really cool experience. And I got more rejections after the fact for other things, residency, for example, internship, those types of things. But like, I made it. I got the degree. I'm the doctor. Like, C equals DVM, y'all. It's a saying
Right.
we have. I was a B student, but I matched to the clinical rotation I wanted. I matched to the internship I wanted. It was a residency that was a little tough, but it didn't break me. It broke me after. It broke me after. But that's how I got there. So to answer your question, Yolanda, I believe looking back now, hindsight's 2020, it was a failure. The failure is what kept me right on my path. And I appreciate
Mhm.
every failure I've had in my career, in my life, actually.
Wow.
Nice.
I
Woo!
mean, that just goes to show, like, you got to keep trying. You need to keep pushing for what you really want, what you really desire.
Always.
It's gonna work out. It's like
Yep.
those 9 no's before your what is it, 10 no's or nine, and then the
Something
last
like
one is a
that.
yes.
Yeah. Sean said something
I'm
about
like,
that.
yeah, I'm like
So you're like basically a living example of that. You got to take all your
exactly.
no's before you get your yes. That is
Oh, yes.
incredible.
Yes. Oh, I've had so many no's, so many no's. Oh my gosh. And the most impactful no's have been the ones, honestly, that have kept me hungry. Kept me
Mm,
hungry. It's like you're
Nice.
hungry for something, and it's denied and denied and denied, and then you got to take a step back and evaluate, what is it? Is it me, or is it them? The thing you
Right.
want.
Yeah.
Most of the time it's you. Or in my case, it was me. I had to get better. I had to get
Hmm.
stronger. I wasn't allowed in for a reason. So
mm.
Hmm.
that's how I see failure, as
Nice.
a
And you
lesson.
know what?
Okay.
That kind of, I appreciate you sharing all of that because I didn't know that. And that's incredible. It's very motivating. Um, but speaking of the no's and the failures and things like that, let's take it to bodybuilding just a little bit. Because I know just a minute ago you mentioned that you did get your pro card kind of quick. Most of us don't. I know for me personally, it took me 4 years, I think 4 years, 10 shows, right? But there are those
You didn't
people
give
who
up.
did not. I took all
Mhm.
those failures, right?
Yeah,
And that's going to be the case for most of us most of the time,
right.
until we bide our time and we keep pushing and keep getting better and so on and so forth. So, tell us a little bit about your bodybuilding career and how you jumped from being a vet to being a bodybuilder to being an Olympian bodybuilder. How'd that go for you?
Well, that was a struggle. No, well, I mean, it kind of yes and no. I mean, it's the good, the bad, and the ugly. We're going to talk about it all. So, bodybuilding. So I ran into bodybuilding. I just kind of stumbled upon it when I was doing my residency. And for vets, by the way, like, we can graduate straight out of vet school, take our board exams, get licensed in whatever state, and we're good to go. Like, we're prepared. We don't have to do all the extra training, but hi, overachiever here. Decided I wanted to do the internship. Oh, I want to match. I want to do one of the most competitive residencies. Like, literally, there are 4 spots available in the country. Oh, I want to do that too. And I, God willing, took me there, right? Or through God's grace, got me through all of that. Um, my residency, I lived in Denver, Colorado during that time period. Oh, it's going to come out. So I went through a divorce during that time period. I went through sexual harassment from my mentor, which that corporation did nothing about. So I went through some things during that time period. And I also knew the terms of the residency program that I mean, it was the only one that picked me. So I'm like, I'm signing the dotted line without really being attentive to what it was going to mean. It was a contractual obligation. So they sponsored the training period, which in my case was 2 years. And then I owed the corporation 3 years of my life where I was theirs. I was owned basically, because they make it very challenging from the contractual standpoint to break those contracts. So I psychologically was stuck, and I kept myself there because I listened and I was manipulated and I was utilized. Now, doesn't take away the fact that I did so much good with my patients and I helped so many dogs and so many cats, and I wouldn't trade that experience for the world of good that I was able to give my patients and their pet parents or their guardians or owners, many different names. But the behind the scenes experience was horrible, and I was overworked. I mean, my mentor told me, like, hey, you're here to make me money. If you pass your board exams, cool, that's great, but I want you to make me money, and we're going to make this practice $1 million practice. And again, if you pass, great. If you don't, well. So like that's where I was, and going through the divorce, being in a relationship that was not the right type of relationship for me. I'm going to keep it there. But when you end up, and in my case, I ended up with someone who loved me very much, but didn't want to let me go and live life. So like this version of me, this Jessica Wilson, or this Jessica, I don't ever refer to myself in third person, but I'll share, that little girl right there, and that's my mom. So that little girl with those big dreams, he wasn't going to let those live, other than the vet school thing. Cause like, I'm going to be making money. I'm going to be, that for the relationship. So I'll leave it there. Not a bad person, just someone that just wasn't the right fit for who I knew I was supposed to be. So I had a moment where I'm like, nope, I got to change this. This isn't for me. I have to get out of this marriage. I have to get out of here. I cannot do this anymore. I cannot be that bird kept in the cage. I was overprotected all my life. And that was the kind of relationship that marriage was. It was just complete lockdown. Like I couldn't have friends. If I had friends that were males, that was the end of the world. So I went through a lot of change, and this is actually the first time I'm sharing details of this. So that's a huge life change. And then on top of that, my mentor is like putting the moves on me because he knows I'm single now. I knew I was moving to California because, again, contractual obligation. So I'm like, oh my God, I am all by myself. I am starting this whole new gig. I've never run a practice. I'm the only dentist in this practice. Who's going to help me? And then I remembered, this was shared with me, like, you know more about your craft than anyone else in that building. So own it, own it, own it. You'll have backup. You'll have criticalists there if you need them for anesthesia. You'll have surgeons there if you need a second opinion on something. But that mouth of those dogs and cats, you are it. So I remember going into it, and I was always pretty confident about it. I'm like, yeah, I'm damn good at what I do. I help my patients. I've never lost one under anesthesia, knock on wood. And I'm going to do a lot of good. So I've got this, but I got to focus. And so I went into that work hard. I'm like singing a Rihanna song, work. That was my life. And a friend of mine's like, hey, get some get Instagram. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. Like, what is this? And this is like 2011, 2012, 13. And I'm like, I don't know what this is. I don't have time. Like, I got to do this grown up stuff. Like, I don't have time for this. What's a hashtag? But I did get an Instagram account, and this was again 2013. And I'm scrolling through, and I'm like, what are these women in these glittery bikinis and stripper shoes? Wait a minute. Bodybuilding. What is this? What? I'm like, wait, they're not strippers? This is wait a minute. Like I'm looking at like Paige Hathaway, who's got used to compete in the NPC. So women like that, where I'm like, wait a minute, this is like respectful. Like, wait, I want to do this. The seed got planted. Y'all, the seed got planted, and I'm like, I'm gonna do this. So then I put it away, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna do it. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I don't know what it looks like, but I'm doing it. And then I moved to California, started my, knew I needed to go to a gym. I needed to find a gym. and ended up going to a fight gym because I didn't want to go to like the big box gyms. The 24 is not my jam. I ended up finding a fight gym, and I met my husband there, and I met all of, like, that's where all the connections were made, where I ended up with a coach. We're still good friends to this day. He got me to that first show, which is actually the San Diego Championships, which is coming up on the 25th. And that was my first show 9 years ago. And it's been a wild ride ever since, but that's how I stumbled onto bodybuilding. It was, I needed something from, so not only is it like, oh wait, this looks, I can do this just from finding it on Instagram. I had to find something after all that trauma I had been going through that I didn't get resolved until a whole lot later. But all of the things that I went through, those major shifts, those major life change, I did develop health problems from that. And I needed to, my therapist is like, what do you do for you? And I had no answer. I had not a single answer, nothing to say. I'm like, everything I answered had to do with me caring for others or doing something. It had to do with everybody else. And I had nothing that I did for myself, not a single thing. So I'm like, I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna start going to the gym because I've always been skinny little thing. I'm like, I'm gonna get strong. That's what I'm gonna do. And then bodybuilding came along, and then boom, like here we are. I don't remember what the rest of the question was. That was a long story.
No, it was
That's
great
how
though.
bodybuilding came about. Was vet med's driving me crazy. I need something for me. And so that's how it happened 9 years ago.
Yeah,
You
that's
literally
awesome.
stumbled.
Right.
Literally.
Stumbled
Oh,
upon.
literally. But the cool thing is, in finding the sport, I had a lot of, that's when the imposter syndrome started, because I
Mm,
never had that. I didn't even know what it meant. I didn't, and it was not so much the imposter syndrome. That was part of it. And again, hindsight's 2020. I see the patterns now, but it was more of the, oh my God, I'm afraid of what people are gonna think. It was the seeing others' opinions that you're
yeah,
imagining as
yeah,
reality. Like, I'm
yeah.
imagining what people are going to say. They haven't even said anything. I'm imagining that I'm going to get rejected by the veterinary community, that the corporate company I worked for at that time was going to, like, oh my God, I wasn't Wilson yet. Yeah, I was Wilson. Oh, Dr. Wilson's lost it. We're going to have to let her go. Like, it's adult content. That's because, y'all, we're on a song, like, on stage. There's nothing
Right,
modest about what we do. The
right.
bikinis have been the same size in the past 9 years. Like, they haven't gotten any bigger, right? And they're not gonna be. But I had all of these fears in my mind of, I have the show coming up. Oh my gosh, like, I can't, like, my account was all my accounts were private. And I'm like, God. And people are watching me come in with my gallon water and my 6-pack bag and all my meals, thinking I'm effing weird. Like, that is what I faced. Is no one that worked in that hospital setting understood or even wanted to understand what I was doing and why I was doing it. They thought it
Mhm.
was cool, and they're like, oh yeah, she's the new girl, like, she's the new doctor, she's a little different, like, just let her be. And then I did the first show, and, like, the pictures are on the internet. You can't it
Mhm.
just is what it is. Google yourselves, it's interesting. And so I'm like, well, it's out there. And they loved it. They loved it. My employers didn't care. They thought it was great. You know what happened though? Two veterinarians called to complain. They called that company. They did it again in another company I worked with, to hate on me basically and call me unprofessional and, trash me. And I'm
Wow.
just like, and I remember in the first one, I didn't care who it was either, but I knew it was a gentleman. It was an older dude, and I don't know who he was, but that's all I was told. And I'm like, man, generational. All
Mhm.
right, for sure. Generational differences there. And man, how much does it suck that he can't see the good in this? Like, I
Right.
mean, at least enjoy the show because it's something to look at. You know what I mean? Like, we're something to
Yeah.
look at. But man, for him to go out of his way, that's pretty cool. Like, I was flattered. I'm like, he went out of his way to make a call to complain about me. I'm like, okay, we're on to something. I'm going to change this vet community. I'm going to change this veterinary world so they see people like me in a different light. And then I realized,
Mm,
I'm like, I'm going to go pro. I'm going to be the first veterinarian to go pro. I'm going to do it. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but man, that was mantra. I'm like, Jessica
Yeah.
Wilson, IFBB Bikini Pro. I'm like doing my this is me doing cardio. I'm like, Bikini Pro. Like I'm every day, I'm just like repeating this.
Wow.
And then I
That's
went to junior
amazing.
nats and then I didn't make it. I got ignored. I almost gave up. And then we made it eventually. But yeah, that's I don't remember again what the original question was, but I'm just storytelling here, so just keep asking.
No, it's all good. You're answering the questions, actually.
Perfect.
No. I
So
think
I have
what's
one for
amazing
you.
though. Oh, go ahead. Go
Mhm.
ahead.
Yeah.
So, as a pro, I think I saw that you went to Japan in 2019.
Mhm.
What was that experience like?
Oh my gosh. Rock star. Oh, rock star. Rock
I have
star.
heard
That
that.
was it
Mhm.
was such an incredible experience. And it was one of these experiences where it was not that it was on a whim decision, clearly, because you have to prepare. But it was one of those things where my coach Kimoto, we always discuss what the game plan is going to be for the season. Sometimes though, we just kind of wing it, and that's worked in my favor a couple times. But he's like, hey, Muscle Contest was starting to promote the show because it was the first show in Japan. It was the inaugural
Mhm.
things. And so he told me, obviously, with the tie to Muscle Contest, because hey, they're our backyard, right? We're very closely connected. He does own Tan Masters, so he works obviously one-on-one with the Muscle Contest. So it was like, all right, how many bikini girls can we get? Like, let's make this a big thing. So there were a lot of us from Body Bio, and then a lot of bikini pros. It was a pretty big show. It was a really big show, and we just decided, all right, let's do it. And my husband and I'm like, I don't know how we're going to afford this, but let's figure it out. It's all a tax write-off, right? So I went on an app called Hopper, not sponsored, but it would be nice. And I was able to find a round trip ticket for $450 to Japan direct from LAX. So I'm like, we're booking it. Let's go. It was during the holidays, and that show was February. So we booked in like November. It was around Thanksgiving, I remember. Now here's the interesting thing about that show. I was injured.
What?
I was injured probably about 6 weeks prior. Let me think. No, maybe a little bit longer. But I tore my hip flexor. I tore my hip flexor in December prior to that. So it was kind of in the beginning of the prep. So I was prepping while rehabbing. Like I was not ambulatory. Like I could not put weight on that leg, period. So it
Wow.
was it was like, I don't how am I booked it. I'm going. I don't know how we're you better work. And so I like went to PT, I did PRP, anything and everything that we could do to get me functional. I did.
Mhm.
And luckily with posing, we all know we can hide imbalances very well. Luckily, no one knew. and it didn't affect the physique overall. Big picture, the shape was always there. I didn't win. I don't even remember what I ranked. I it's irrelevant. It was the time of my life. But yeah, I was injured. So I didn't even know if I was gonna make that show. I really didn't think I was. But whether I made it on the stage or not, I was still going to go to Japan. So that's the thing. It's like, you know what? This is a destination. I'm still going to go, whether I'm on stage or not, I'm going. And it just worked out that I was recovered enough. I was recovered enough. And that was also the year where I first did the twirly twirl during my routine. So it was fun. It was fun. And in Japan, we were truly treated like rock stars. Hair and makeup was like, you don't just have one person working on you. I think I had 3 people all at once. 3 people, like each of us had like 3 people working on us. I mean, it was wild. The fans were insane. It was a really positive experience. So, and then it's Japan, the food. Oh, guys, the food.
Oh man, I'd fail
I was
going
like, we
into
need
any
to
kind
go
of
to
reverse of meeting.
Japan.
I was about to say, it sounds
It
like we
ruined
need to
it.
be booking. We need to go to Japan, y'all.
Go to Japan. Go to Japan. Hey, let's plan it for next year because they're gonna do the show. We'll plan it for next year.
I'm
Right.
gonna put it on my calendar.
Wait a minute. It's a pro bikini show, girl.
Ooh, there
Hey,
you go.
hey,
And
let's be looking
like,
for tickets, y'all.
let's do
November.
it. Let's do it. But yeah, it was a ton of fun. It was an extraordinary experience. Absolutely. Yes. I would
That's
do
so
it again.
awesome.
If I could have done it for this year, I would have, but maybe
Hmm.
next year. So yeah.
Yeah, because you just came off the Olympus. Technically, you just kind of came off the Olympia stage. It's been like,
Kind
what,
of
2, 3 months?
3. It's been 12. You know what? It's been a full prep. It's been 12 weeks. Yeah.
Wow.
It's been 12.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do
That's
you
my
feel like you could have even given anything else after Olympia to that? If you really wanted to go there.
No, not this year.
That's fair.
Not this year. Not this year. Um, and actually I will amend that statement. Not in the mindset that I was in.
Fair.
Not in the mindset that I was in. I think I could have pulled it off under other circumstances where I could have just continued and kept going. Because my body, and it's funny because I saw Kim yesterday. It was his birthday, so I actually drove down to headquarters and surprised him. And he knows my body very well now. It took us a little bit, even though we went pro pretty quickly. I think it was 4 shows with Kim and I went pro. Um, it still took us a few years to figure out like the secret formula to what makes my body look its best when I'm in my prime. And the interesting thing about me, and a lot of people have noticed it, I know Sean has mentioned it, probably on the lives. It takes my body a few shows to get it right. And that's okay. Like, I don't feel bad about it. Every time I'm on stage, I'm on cloud 9. Like, I don't care where I place. I just love being on stage so much. So, but yes, it does take my body a few shows to like get it together, if that makes sense. So, and that's what Kim mentioned. So yeah, post Olympia, I could have kept going, but I had too much going on in real life where it just was not a wise choice to keep going for my mental health and for my physical health as well. Just to put it plainly, because I'm going through some things. But yeah, this year was a no. This year was a no. We needed that break. Breaks are good, guys.
Fair
Yes.
enough. That's awesome. You got another one, Steph?
So to
Because
keep
I
it
have
in
a few.
line with the
No.
to
Go
keep it in
ahead.
line with the Olympia,
Yes.
I know they do a segment where you do meet the Olympians. How did you feel your first time there, like actually having people like come up to you and chat with you and, just be there in your presence?
So the very first time, which was 2021, Meet the Olympians, that was that I was like, it was a start. That whole weekend in Orlando, it was just a starstruck effect. I was just oohing and ahhing all weekend, every single experience. I was just soaking everything in. No one came to visit me really. A few people that I knew, right? Because we have our tables set up, and we could have photos or whatever we want to share with fans. And that was year 1. So I'm like, all right, this was cool. Like I know, like I'm not a Laura Lee, I'm not a Jen Dory, I don't have that reach just yet, right? So I'm like, all right, cool. So 2022 comes around and I'm like, all right, I don't think anybody's gonna come by because like I'm not one of them, right? It is what I thought to myself. And so, but I still did the thing. I'm like, I'm still going to get my photos and I'm still going to print it and I'm going to behave in the manner of like, I'm an Olympian. People are coming here to meet me and everybody else, but they're coming here to meet me. So get it together in your head. You belong. People want to see you. Just get out of your head. So I went, and the first 2 women that came in, the VIP hour, because of course, when folks buy their tickets, you can do VIP where you get early access. It's not as crowded. 2 cuties were the first ones to come to the table. 2 cuties. And I was shooketh when they came by to literally beeline, not because Ashley K was right over here, Daraja was right over here. They came to me, and I was just like, and then
Yeah.
the waterworks, and I'm like, oh my God. And then you guys came, because you guys came later. You guys came much, much, much later, with Jamaica and like Sean. Like, so people just started rolling in, like intentionally, specifically there to see me. And I'm just like, okay, come on down. So it was beautiful. It was beautiful. It was just as beautiful as the first time. It was just beautiful from start to finish. And of course I'm a talker, so I didn't leave until like way after everybody was gone. Like the lights were on, they were breaking the stage down, because a veterinarian came to see me, and that was very special, very impactful. She came right at the very end. So that was really cool. Yeah, that Meet the Olympians is so special, so special, because it really helps us. It helps people lay hands on us. Like, we're real. We're not just the statuesque photographic representations. We're not just trophies. We're not just these pictures. It just makes it very real. So I loved it. And I can't wait for this year's. So
That is so incredible, especially that they were two cuties. Because I want to say that's how I found you. I think Sean was talking about, I think, if I wasn't already
yeah.
following you, because I don't remember. I know I've been following you for a minute though. So I think that that's incredible. I have a couple of questions, but I'm not going to
Yeah.
ask all of them.
Oh my
Two
God.
things I two things I want to touch on though.
Yes.
One of them I can go down a rabbit hole, but I will not for the sake of time. But I do want to highlight something that you said that I am very adamant and I'm very much an advocate for, is that envisioning, that manifesting, that speaking life. And that has been, I feel like, a repetitive theme since we started this pod, right? Because you said when you were little, you already knew what you wanted to be and you were going to be it. You knew you wanted to be on the stage. Fast forwarding to getting into bodybuilding, you said, on the treadmill or the elliptical, I'm going to be a pro. I'm going to be a pro. Right. And that is something that I speak on all the time, is like your language and your beliefs and all of the things are very impactful in terms of how your reality is going to be shaped. And you are literally giving us this living example of that taking place, right? So I just want to highlight that. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but I do want to ask, since you did say you want to, I mean, we can go down that rabbit hole,
but in interest of time.
Hey, I can talk on that all day, but we'll touch on it a little bit with this question. So you said when you were little, you knew you wanted to be on the stage, right? And then you get into this bodybuilding world and you're on a stage, right? So at what point do you think, did you kind of think back to those moments when you were younger, when you were saying, I'm going to be on a stage, and realize, like, I made this happen. Like, this is happening. I said it was going to happen, and here I am living this.
Just recently.
Really?
Like I from the conceptual like from the memory standpoint, yeah, a few years ago, like back 2015, when like the dream came true, like, hey, I made it, I'm a pro, okay, cool. Oh, wait a minute, I'm on a stage. Like, I remember like thinking back. However, the impact of how powerful that was didn't hit me until recently. I'm not kidding. Like, recently, like the past few months recently. That's how long it took my brain to like process the reality of it. So it's I had been going for so long. I never really stopped to zoom out and look at it. So yeah, just recently.
I was going to say that makes complete sense, though, having listening to you speak at CCTS in 2022. And I know, well, I listened via via live stream.
Yes.
This year, just understanding, so many variations of things that you've gone through and things that you shared. I can understand how it's now resonating and sitting with you now. Like, I'm really living my dream. I made all of this possible. This is coming true. I'm trying not to let my T's, my Caribbean come out.
Hey, this is the real raw real. Remember,
this is the real. Be real.
Yes.
Yeah, but
I'll switch it up to Spanish. We'll get real Caribbean.
Listen, go. You know we're on it. Do what you need to do.
Ooh, the helmet almost fell off. Oh boy, here we go.
Oh no.
We're good.
But listening to that, I mean, I could definitely feel that and understand that how that has just came to pass and it's like really visible to yourself, like this is happening, and that's amazing. Congratulations.
Yes.
Thank
Alone.
you.
And that
Yes.
accomplishment. Yeah. I didn't want to cut you off. Yeah, I think you have another one.
Yeah,
No,
keep
you're
them
good.
coming.
Did you have a question?
Okay.
I'm
Yeah,
inquisitive. I'll ask all day.
Yes.
yeah. But getting back into the real just a little bit. You mentioned meeting your husband, and I want to know how that transition was for you and how it played such a impact in your bodybuilding life. Because you said that a lot of connections happened within that time. So if you want to share a little bit about
Yeah,
that and give him his
definitely.
praises.
Definitely. Christopher
Right?
James Wilson, Mr. Wilson.
Hey, look at that.
Hey. I'm everywhere. It's an inside joke with him. So 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 stepping into that, so the way that I went into that gym and found him there. I mean, I wasn't looking for him. But there he was. That's when you find them, when you stop looking, guys. You find your partners when you stop looking and you work on you.
Let him know.
That's when you
That's a
find them.
freaking fact. I can
We
also
all
attest to
know.
that.
Yes.
Yes.
Like, so just stop looking. They'll come to you.
Mhm.
Right. But, so as I mentioned earlier, I didn't, the big box gyms, it's just not my jam. I'll utilize them. I'm thankful that they are there. They serve their purpose. There's clearly a need for them, but I was looking for something more one-on-one, something smaller, private. I'm all about supporting local businesses. So I end up driving, there's this big street where I used to live. And I remember looking at these posters of women that were in, like, it was kickboxing. But it was a woman. So I felt more comfortable immediately. Cause I'm like, I live a little too far traffic wise from Venice to like go to Gold's, because I knew that was the Mecca. But I'm like, let me just all right, something's calling me to go into this place. And it was a fight shop where they have like all the equipment, all the MMA stuff. So I go in and there were women there. So I'm like, cool, I feel more comfortable already. And I'm like, hey, so I'm new here. I just moved and I know this is a fight shop, but I'm looking for something very particular. I want to go into bodybuilding and I don't want to go to the 24 or the other gyms. So like, is there a local place that you would recommend that has weight equipment and all that jazz? And they're like, hey, go to this gym. It's called HBUTC. And this is what she said, like, I verbatim, I will never forget it. She's like, go there. You might find what you're looking for. Left it and just left it there. And I'm like, okay. So that was a Sunday. The following day after work, I went in. It was around 4 or 5 o'clock. And or maybe it was the other way around. No, that same Sunday, I went in, they were closing, and a dear friend of mine, who we're now dear friends, he was there closing up, and he's like, hey, yeah, you know what? Come in tomorrow. There's a kickboxing class. Like, I wasn't looking for kickboxing, but I was looking for bodybuilding. There's a kickboxing class. It's Coach Wilson. It's at 5:15. And I'm like, Wilson? I don't know why. My brain immediately was like, ooh, Coach Wilson. Who's Coach Wilson? Like, ooh, what? So I'm like, do they have a website? Because I'm like, I want to know who my instructor is, right? Like, I'm just inquisitive. So I start, come on, what do girls do? We start Googling, like, you need like 1 ounce of information and you're going to find everything.
Fact.
We know, we own it. So I'm like, I couldn't find anything. Like, I'm like, all right, they don't have a way, whatever. All right. So I just show up. So I show up and I see this man and I'm like, oh.
Like, I'm kickboxing now.
You found more than you was looking for.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, now all of this happened in my head. Obviously, I was cool. I was cool as a cucumber. But I show up, but in my mind, I'm like, ooh, that's him. You're gonna be mine. Like, remember what I said? When I know I want something, I get it. So I'm like,
my God.
You're mine. Like, you just don't know it yet, but you're mine. But hey, coach, oh yeah, I'm Jessica. Okay, good to meet you. All right.
So
So
true.
the thing, so I had just had my breast augmentation done before, like, ladies, I just like after that residency, I wild out. I was just like, I'm doing everything and anything I want to do. Like, I don't even care. It was the first time I was making big doctor money, and I'm like, I'm doing all this. But since I had that done, I was still, I had recovered, but I wasn't recovered enough to do upper body things yet.
Mhm.
And so I had to explain that to him. So what a way to break the ice, right? Like,
Right.
hi, great to meet you. I'm new here. By the way, ooh, kickboxing. Yeah, we're hitting the bag. So I just got my boobs done a few months ago. So can you modify exercises? Like, this is straight up like what I yeah. So that's how we kind of hit it off. And I
That's
took a
amazing.
class. Oh yeah. But I was just like, oh, I'd never done kickboxing. So I'm like, oh, this is fun. Like, it's actually a lot of fun. Like, I can do this. Um, but my wrists, so my hands are my money makers, right? So I
Mhm.
I can't do surgery if I have any sort of hand issues or wrist
Mhm.
issues. So I kind of thought like, all right, this is something fun, but I'm not doing this forever. Like, I've got to protect these hands. So I still kept going to the classes. That was my cardio, but I guess one tangent, he and I hit it off, and then the rest is history. And then but a lot of this
Mhm.
because when he and I met, it was that, hey, I have that intention of going on prep. I didn't know the word prep. I didn't know what it all meant. I'm just like, I have this intention to pursue a bodybuilding thing. I didn't know it was going to be a career. So when he met me, I met that coach, that first coach, Eric Mara, at the same, kind of all at the same time. It was just all this network of people that just, it was wild. So Chris and I start dating, and I start prepping, and that's been it. Our entire relationship, I've just been on prep the whole damn time, the whole time. That poor man.
Man.
And he can cook, y'all.
Ooh, that's tough.
Oh, he can cook. So
Yes.
so it's been as far as relationship goes. I mean, we've been through thick and thin. We got we oh boy, we started dating. We got some drama out of the way right in the beginning. Thank God that was done and over with. And then we figured it out, and we knew, all right, we want to be together. Like, this is what we want. We're gonna make it work. And he's an MMA instructor, Muay Thai instructor, kickboxing instructor, personal trainer.
Nice.
And so that's been he's the functional athlete and functional athlete creator, and I'm the aesthetic side. But we've been through a lot, and the sport has been a lot of the reason.
Yeah.
Listen, we might have to
um,
have you on for a part two just to talk
part
about bodybuilding
two,
and relationships.
Listen,
relationships.
just a couple
Yes.
more things.
Wait a minute. Yes, I feel like we can do that. But
Okay.
essentially, yes, I have been very fortunate in finding my husband, my partner, Chris, that has been supportive. Has it been easy? No, no, not at all. Um, but there comes a point, and I don't know if this happens in every relationship. I really pray and hope it does. Um, there is a point where the vision that the one partner has becomes so strong and so overwhelming, and
Mm.
overwhelming in the sense that it needs to be fulfilled. It's like
Mm,
it needs fulfilling because it's already done, remember? Like,
yeah.
it's a vision. You decided, it's already done. He has his visions as well, and pretty quickly here it's his turn to go, because he has taken that back seat to be my supporter. And I have supported him in his endeavors, and we're now at a point, both of us and each of us in our careers, where we're stepping out into the unknown. And so I am so excited to support him and his vision and his future and what he wants to accomplish career wise, just like he's always done with me. The
Yeah.
cool thing is we're going to be doing this together. So
Nice.
it's partnership for us. Bodybuilding has it's just been so good. It's been so good. It's been so testing and so trying.
Yeah.
But as he has also seen my success, it's like he's stepped into his success as well. So that's the beautiful thing about partnership, right? Your partner, you follow each other's lead. And that's what we have. That's how our relationship has been. We're following each other's lead. So
Nice.
it's pretty cool.
That's
That's
amazing.
really beautiful. Yeah. And a huge transition as well, from someone kind of holding you back a bit, not letting you fly to let's go, and we're doing it together.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. I'm so happy you shared that.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a
100%.
huge turnaround. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
It is. It is. I hadn't, until you put that, I had not, again, it's like you forget to zoom out and step outside that box. And
Yeah.
I had never, the way that you expressed that was so beautiful. I'd never thought of it that way. The contrast, right? What I came from to now what I have, which is what I always longed for, was to have that support. Because we all have dreams. We all have dreams. And if your partner doesn't support your dream, or you feel like you can't live the dream, maybe it's a dream you haven't told anybody.
Right.
That's how dreams die. And I don't want anybody's dreams to die. So
that's real.
That's real.
Real. That is real.
That is real. Yes.
So speaking of real, raw real, I don't want to put you on the spot. So say as much as you're comfortable, right? So with getting real and raw about bodybuilding and work-life balance, I know at CCTS you mentioned that you were having some challenges and you were realizing that you were overextended. How did you come to that realization, and how did you start to work through that? And I'm asking because it's coming to pass now for me post CCTS, and like the last couple of weeks, I'm like, man, I'm just completely overextended. There's not enough time in the day. My brain is just starting to not even function at minimum capacity, and I got to do something. I have to change this because I can't just swirl the drain. So how did you come to the realization that, you were struggling? How did that impact your bodybuilding career, and how did that impact your own career?
Ooh. I don't know if you can see me taking these deep breaths here. Breath work has helped tremendously, and lots of therapy.
Say again.
Yes. So, okay. So I want to be as transparent as I possibly can be. But there are some topics that are a little bit delicate still. So, the bird's eye view of what went on last year and had been going on for a number of years. I had been overextending myself for a number of years. I just didn't realize it. And I didn't realize it again until recently, the past few months, or right around cuties, when I gave, I bared heart and soul to you all, because it's what you deserve. And it's like cautionary tale, right? So I have always been so very proud of myself for doing it all, right? Like I can have a full-time career as a veterinarian, a specialist on top of that, not just I don't want to say just, but not a general practice vet, but like specialty, like you go above and beyond, like it's complicated cases, it's high risk cases. Like, okay, so that's one thing I do. And I'm going to do bodybuilding as a hobby. And let's face it, this is not a hobby. This is a full-time job. It really is, depending on what you want to do with it. So I have to add that, right? Depending on what you want to do with it, it can be a hobby, but it's probably going to be a full-time job if you're like anyone that's like any of us that are sitting here in this room, in this Zoom room right now, right? So I look at my career as a reflection, my bodybuilding career rather, as a reflection of that overextension. So if you look at my photos, like if you go to NPC News Online, because you can look up any competitor, right? If I look at my photos from the entire past 9 years that I have been competing, you can really clearly see when my body was like, yeah, it's not going. Yeah, you're a pro, but it's not going. Oh, she got better. Ooh, nope. It's not it's gone. Like, ooh, restart. Like you can see that progression and the deterioration of the physique. I see it, and with the trained eye, I'm sure you guys can see it as well. So I was always overworking. I was always chronically stressed, not because of my veterinary how do I put it? Not because of what I did as a veterinarian, it's because of my work environments. I'm just going to say it. And also, I now understand and have taken accountability for my lack of boundaries and my overextension, because it takes two. Every relationship, whether it's a work relationship or whether it's a romantic relationship or a friend relationship or whatever relationship, there's always two sides and there's always give and take, right? So yes, the companies, your jobs, they will take every opportunity possible to utilize you in the maximum capacity, right? Whatever that looks like, it's different for all of us.
Yep.
It's up to the individual to take accountability and place the boundaries. I thought I did. I didn't. I never knew what boundaries were. I am a healer. I am a giver. I am a nurturer. I am a provider in that sense. So it just comes naturally to me to overextend and want to help and sign up for everything and participate in all of it. And like, it's not FOMO. It's just like, oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yes. So I was a yes man forever, ever, 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 ever. And I also knew I was very uncomfortable in my environment, but this is another tangent. Okay, this is gonna be another tangent. I always had this feeling that working in a corporate setting wasn't for me, and working in that kind of environment wasn't for me. I don't like being told what to do. I want to do things my way because I know they work. Not that I'm inflexible by any means. It's not that I'm not a team player by any means. I love collaborating, but I have a method to my madness. And if you just let me be, it will succeed. So just let me be. And pay me. That's this is real.
Top primary.
Pay me what I know I am worth. You have to pay me. And when I'm here finding out, oh, we have a guest. When I'm here finding out how severely underpaid I am for the amount of work that I am providing, or the amount of time of myself that I'm providing, well, that just didn't sit. And then when I later found out that the company I worked for at the time, and this is during the beginnings of my pro career, where I just was the skinny little thing, always last call out. Oh, but she's so pretty and she's got stage presence, but she's the last call out, right? So that was that time period. I worked for a company that was a big company, and it was purchased by Mars, the candy company. And immediately, yes, animal hospitals are owned by those companies. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And so ethically, it didn't fit. I'm like, how is this happening? Like, I remember I woke up from a dead sleep. Like I like had a premonition. I came in a dream. Oh, that's another side of me that I can share. But I knew when I found the news, like, oh yes, the company has been purchased, acquired by Mars, the candy company. And I'm just like, nope, I can't do this. They make people sick. I cannot align with this. It does not work. I cannot stay here. It took me 10 months to make the decision to leave, but I had to lose my marbles in that time period and get abused basically by not just the corporation, but by clients, pet parents. I snapped and I couldn't do it. And I literally was like, what's the minimum amount of time I can give notice? Oh, well, customarily, 2 weeks to a month. And I was like, cool, I'm giving my notice. Bye. I have nothing on and I had them just wipe everything from my books, rechecks only, because I'm not going to, perform a surgery and then not be available for the follow-up. So I'm like, cool. Hey, y'all, I put in my notice. I'm peacing out of this bitch. So cancel it all. Just my rechecks. Please notify X, Y, and Z client, because they're my favorite, that I'm going to be going. And I was done. I was so done. So I made that leap. I quit my job. I didn't have a job lined up, but I quit, and then I started looking better. I actually ended up doing end of life care. So I was doing house calls, but the schedule, it was a bit more relaxed. although it could get intense, but I was able to like, all right, if I didn't have an appointment, I mean, I was on call all the time, but like if I didn't have an appointment, I could go take a nap. Like I can go squeeze my training in. I can do my athletic life in a much more relaxed way. Guess what happened? I put on some muscle mass. So that was when I made that change. Let me think, it was 2017 or 18 when I cut my hair. So if you saw photos of me with super short hair on stage, and I was thick. I mean, I was thick. Like Tamer and Tarek were like, you looked great from the front and then you turned around. And I'm like, you wanted me heavy. So I gave you what you asked. So yeah, I was a little too thick. I had too much junk in the trunk in the back.
Fair.
But that right there, like when I look at those photos and I'm like, that red bikini with the short hair, and I look fuller, I look bigger, I look healthier. That was when I worked the job that gave me time where I could be an athlete and take the sport a little more seriously. But then that was also like, hey, gotta fine tune that. So I did very well, and then I got what I thought was my dream job. Um, and that was about 4 years ago. And body again, looking good, looking good, looking good, and then not so much. And then 2021 was the year of risk taking. And that's when things skyrocketed. And then made it to the Olympia, all of that. 2022, I'm going to be 100% honest, I was a robot all year. Last year, I was just going through the motions all year, even leading up to the Olympia. Like there was just no, I was empty. I was a shell. So
That's crazy.
I can put on a show. I can put on a show. Like I know I'm a performer, and the nature of my last role as a veterinarian, my most recent role rather, my role, the majority of my role was to perform, was to educate. So I know how to put it on. However, the body shows it. The body shows it all. And when I look at 2022, I had a very successful year. Very successful year. Started out, I believe it was Patriots, 7th place, then did a show in Austin. The Republic of Texas came in 2nd place. So it was like, this is where my body needs a few shows to like get it together. And I remember when we decided to go into Chicago, because I got my Olympia qualification in 22 with the Chicago Pro. That was huge because that was not planned. Just like my whole 2021 season was not planned. And I did all the big shows. So after the Chicago Pro, so that was like, wow, that's the best I looked all year. And to this day, I think it was a better look than Olympia. Although, well, I have my opinions about my looks. But after that show, in July, because that was July, I don't remember, July something, that was Chicago Pro. I kind of disappeared a little bit, kind of got disengaged with social. I didn't have the bandwidth. I had so many work commitments and so much travel that I just could not keep up. And it was a doctor's appointment that started waking me up to the reality of I am overextended. My health is suffering. My health is suffering immensely. So much so my physician wanted me to leave my job. So I'll share that. And so going into Olympia was tough. Really, really, really tough. I felt nothing. I know y'all haven't asked how I felt about Olympia. I felt nothing up until Olympia, or the week prior when I did, or a couple weeks prior when I had done,
Battle of Texas.
I'd done Battle of Texas when I saw y'all there.
Yeah.
Well, not all of you, but I saw you there. But even before, so I had flown out to Pittsburgh to do Road to Olympia with JM, and that's when I started kind of realizing, oh, yeah, get excited. But like you see the tone, I'm like, yeah, get excited. Like I'm trying to convince myself, be excited, be excited, be excited, be excited. But I didn't really feel it until Texas. I didn't feel anything until Texas. But I knew I just had to do my job every single day, one day at a time. Make sure you do your job today. Tomorrow's not guaranteed, so just do 100% today. And that's how I got through. That's how I did it. And then Olympia came around, and what a lot of folks don't know, I didn't do very much during Olympia. I did the athlete meet and greet, and then I went to my room, and then I did the prejudging, and I went to my room when I was done, and I didn't do very much. I was very sick. I was very sick.
Wow.
So when you guys saw me, and it wasn't what everybody else had. It wasn't, because I know a lot of people got sick during that Olympia weekend. And so I was very sick with a sinus thing. Like it was just, I needed to just conserve as much energy. I was exhausted. And the moment, so to your question about when did you realize you were being overextended? Like when did it really hit me? On stage during prejudging.
Wow.
And it was this moment when I knew so they did that first call out, and they called out 9, and I'm like, I was relieved. I was relieved because I knew I wasn't going to be the 10th. I knew. So I'm like, like my smile got even bigger because I was just like, I don't have to go to finals. I can take a shower. I'm going to go have dinner with coach. Hopefully that'll happen. And literally that's all that happened. Like that's what happened that afternoon. So I got off stage, saw a bunch of people that I knew, and I went to my room, and it was heaven. And that was the moment when I really, really comprehended, I'm tired. I've been doing too much. Like I'm done. Like I gotta step away from something. So that's the moment. Olympia stage. Olympia stage was when it really hit me that I was overextended. The gravity of how overextended I've shared with you guys at Cuties. So we'll keep that to ourselves. Sorry, world. I'm not going to share that.
What happens at Cuties stays.
What happens at Cuties. But yeah, something else did occur that really, really woke me up. And it all has to do with health. So health is first. Health, your loved one's health, that has to be first. The sport is not going anywhere. Like legit, it survived COVID. So it's like
that's a valid point. Actually,
take a back burner. It can take a back burner. Yeah. So yeah.
Wow.
Damn.
That's incredible.
I admitted this. I hadn't admitted this really. Like I was celebrating not being called out to finals. Meanwhile, of course, you go to Olympia, you want to win it. But that last year was not the year for that for me. Not at all. Not even close. No.
That's wild.
How do you feel having, finally like admitting it or saying it, out loud? Do you feel like some sort of like
cathartic?
Free. I feel freedom. I feel pure freedom because I was the one that was holding myself back by doing too much. I didn't realize it. We are women that are very accomplished, and we are surrounded by athletes that are very accomplished, and then you look at them in their professions and they are very accomplished. I mean, being a successful athlete, you have to have part of your DNA has to have that overachiever, that little bit of type A. You may not be a full type A. You may be an AB like me, but there's a part of you that makes you ultra competitive and makes you want what you want and do anything and everything it takes within reason to get to the goal. And so, admitting that I was doing too much of everything and not being really good at, I can't say that because I'm I say this because I'm proud of myself. I'm not saying this to be boastful. I'm a really good veterinarian. I'm a freaking excellent surgeon. I'm a really good bodybuilder too. And I'm proud of those things. But how could I excel at one or the other without going all in? So, admitting to myself and now admitting it to the world, because hey, this is going to be launched and the world's going to know that I was overextended. Heck yeah. Like I was overextended, and admitting it has now allowed me to clear space. So it has actually liberated me from the perspective of I can so clearly see what I want, and I very clearly see what I don't want and I don't need. Although I thought I needed those things or that position or that or whatever it is, I'm free. Like I am free. I'm only going to do what I want to do, because if I try to do anything other, my body doesn't work.
Those
So,
are
And
things.
yeah,
the first thing I thought about is when you said it the first time and you kind of left that first job and you started looking better. And I was like, once you started figuring it out, it was like that all came into play. You let
right,
go of the things that, are not necessary for you.
right.
And with you like saying all of this, it kind of goes back to like how Brandy started off her question and she like mentioned herself and all that, well, all that you're dealing with.
Yeah,
Right there, I'm talking to you as well.
You're
It's
good.
kind of cool that you are also admitting to yourself like this is what's going on, and the fact of recognizing what it is gonna lead to you getting better, feeling better, and everything becoming more manageable. I should
yes.
say. I feel like both everything
Yeah.
can
Yeah,
way.
Manageable
absolutely.
and malleable. Like you can be
Ooh,
more
yeah.
bendable. You can be more
Mhm,
flexible, because it just becomes so much clearer and so much easier, for sure.
mhm,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I wanted to add on, and oh my God, the thought, I had a way I was going to articulate it. Um, so the one thing I want to clarify is, because we're talking about like balancing real life and real life career with bodybuilding and all of that. So the one, you can do multiple things, right? And what I did for many years is I tried to integrate both professions, because I knew, all right, I want to go all into bodybuilding, but I'm all in vet med and I'm not going to leave vet med. Um, so how do I make my veterinary career? How do I make them one? How do I combine the two? Well, my former role, I was very fortunate in that I could, to an extent, because of the flexible nature of the type of work that
mhm,
I did. I could very easily make it work together. Um, and then even before that, with the end of life care, when I was doing house calls and helping so many animals in their homes have a peaceful transition. So it was just a different version of that career. And then obviously the original OG version was, hey, specialty in a hospital setting. That was that version of myself. So it doesn't mean that if you have a profession, like, if let's say if the conflict is in your mind of how do I do bodybuilding and how do I do my work or my profession or my job or my craft, sometimes you just have to create a role that maybe doesn't exist in your
mm,
the let's just put it this way, the job that pays the bills, because bodybuilding does not, unless you make it. But from that perspective, what I did and how I was able to do both for so very long was I molded my veterinary life to make it work for accommodating my bodybuilding career, because I knew bodybuilding, it's not like, take the shows away, like the stage life away, it's our lifestyle, right? We eat a certain way, we move a certain way, right? We recover a certain way, and we supplement a certain, we do things a certain way, and it's our lifestyle. The stage is that's like the cherry on top for us.
mm,
But we still have to do our day to day and our jobs. So it's figuring out, whatever you do as a profession, all right, how can I make it so this role or my profession, how do I make it fun? How do I make it what I want it to be, where I can still accommodate what I want in my personal life? Like, you just got to get strategic and think outside the box and share, talk to people that, not everybody, you don't have to put your business out in the world, but speak to, find those that maybe did it like you want to do it, learn from them. I didn't necessarily have that, so I've been kind of creating my own path. Because I am the first veterinarian that became a pro. I am the first veterinarian that hit the Olympia stage at 40. So if
The
I could do
inaugural.
this, heck yeah, if I could do this as a technically a master's competitor, and I started late, I started in my 30s, I could do it. Anyone can do it. You just have to want it. Remember, it's already done. Go all in.
mhm.
Go all in. Whatever it is you want to do.
That is
I just had to
incredible.
get that. I just had to get
It's
that
so
out.
many tidbits, and I'm like, man, but this, we can talk about this, talk about that, talk about
I
that. I'm like,
know we
I'm
could break
like,
out
oh,
so.
oh
I
my
got
gosh.
notes over here.
I'm
We'll
like,
just have to have a part two. I just saw the time. I'm like, ooh, I
all right,
talk a lot.
can we just say that already? Like we said that twice in this whole thing, so I feel like that's something that we definitely need to set up because there's a couple of things that you put out, like even just informational stuff. You mentioned writing it off, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, I
Yes.
definitely wanted to talk about
Yes.
that.
Yeah, so it's so much and so many details that I feel like we need to cover.
We keep going.
Yeah,
We can
for
make this
sure.
like a Joe Rogan segment. It's 3-hour podcast. Like we could just
Right.
do this. There is a space for everything that you're going to provide to your audience. So I would love to come back for a part 2, 3, however many. However
That'd be
many.
awesome.
Because I'm like, I
We
still
have
have so much more to say.
And we want to hear
right.
it.
We do. I was like, I can go on all night, but Steph was over there on the East Coast, so it's
Yes.
probably super late
Mhm.
for her.
And I
But
know
Swing
y'all
you
see
gave us
me
shift.
looking left and right with when Junior pops his head out. Like,
Like,
oh, wait.
Mom, are you done yet? Where's
Yeah.
dinner? Ugh.
you've been so incredible. We have a few more questions for you. We have like
Yeah.
our staple questions and stuff like that. But one thing I do want to touch on really quick before we get there is something that you mentioned as far as feeling like a robot when you were going into the Olympia, and nobody would ever know it. I wouldn't have known that because, like I said, I follow you. When you were posting stuff, I didn't notice like there was a time where I felt like it kind of dropped off a little bit, and then I kind of saw you again. And then, of course, we saw you at the Battle of Texas and stuff like that. And I know you said you kind of felt a little better then, but you mentioned kind of putting on because you felt like maybe you felt like you needed to. Um, but I think that really points to what we're trying to do with our podcast, right? Because all most people see is Instagram, is seeing us put on and be stage ready and be glammed up or, going through the prep process and showing our workouts. But we rarely see those downsides or those dark sides or those,
The
what's
real.
behind the mask. Yeah, the
The
real.
Yeah.
real.
So,
The real.
yes. So you're like
Real
really
raw.
hitting the real raw, and
Yes.
Yeah.
you are really hitting the nail on the head with this inaugural interview. So I definitely appreciate that. We definitely appreciate that. So our staple questions, our closeout questions. Anybody want to ask?
Steph, you want to go for it?
I do not have it pulled up in front of me. Sorry.
It's okay. It's all
Yeah.
good.
That's okay. That's why we have a whole team here.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, I feel like
All right.
you gave us a lot, going into this. So some of it may be a little bit cyclical, and that's okay,
Yeah.
right? You got it, Steph?
Nope, might take me a minute. So go ahead.
The
Okay,
last
it's okay.
two. The last two, yeah.
So
So
what
excited.
is the realest or rawest, or both, or realest, rawest moment or emotion you have experienced during your bodybuilding journey, whether it's beginning, middle, or end?
Mm. The ugly crying when I got my pro card. And the time I tripped when I got my pro card. And then there's also that time when I did the spinny spins and almost fell on my face. And this was actually really fun. Okay, so the Clash 2020. We know 2020 was a weird year, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
it was weird. So weird. But Florida was open. So guess what? I needed something to do. So I'm like, I'm going to go do this. So I decided to hop into the Clash knowing like body's not, we're not going to win anything. We just want to go do something and see all of our friends. So so it's 2020. It's that weird year where, it was just weird. And so we're in the auditorium and it's the Clash, and we do the line. I don't remember how I placed it. Doesn't matter. I just had fun. But we end up doing the routines, and I decided, Kim, I still want to do my spinny spin, and he's like, okay, whatever, do what you're gonna do.
That's a Kim.
So,
That was
like,
a good.
okay. Okay. So prejudging happens. That's fine. Finals. So finals, it's like, we kind of amp it up even more because we're more relaxed and the music's a little louder. So I come out and I do my little spinny spin, and Sandy's head judging. Sandy Williamson. So she's head judging. And she's always she's smiling at us. She really is enjoying watching us, and she's interacting with us in that way, right? So, and I know where Kim is in the audience. I always know where he is, so I always look for him. So I come out and I do my little spinny spin, and I think my hair was I don't know, but I overspun, and it was like one of those like, oh, okay, she didn't topple, and so I'm laughing. I'm literally laughing at myself. I'm just like, oh, you just did that. And the judge, like Sandy was just, oh, and this is Kim in the audience. Like literally he face palmed, and I looked at Sandy and I just like nodded, and I just started chuckling, and then she started laughing, and then everybody started laughing, and I thought that was a really special moment. Maybe you guys wanted to hear a cringe moment. I can give you one of those, but it was a really cool moment for me because I realized I could connect with my audience. I could connect. And then that fast forward, I know it's like give one moment, but then fast forward to Olympia 2020. Well, ugly tears happened in Omaha Pro when I won that, my first win ever. And I look at the photos and I'm just like, every photo, like I'm just, my brain is scrambled when I even think about it, actually, because I was so excited. And then Chicago came around. And I was just like, Bob Ciccarello's interviewing me, and I'm like, did that really happen? That really happened? Yeah, that really happened. And I'm like, this is like worldwide televised or, pay-per-view because it's Wings of Strength. And I'm like, yes, this really happened. I worked for this. And I was like, I worked hard for this. I earned it. I won. Yes. And if I could do it, you can do it. And I was just like, what did I even say? I don't even remember. But Bob was there, and I was ugly crying, and I was like, no, we won. Yes, I won. Yes, I won. And if I can do it, you can too. I didn't know what I was saying. Like, I don't know. I was having a blonde moment. I have no idea.
I'm sure being caught in that moment right after, no time to process.
No, well, I almost passed out when they announced us. Jody Yunker held me up. Jody Yunker held me up because I didn't believe it. Like, it was between me and Jazzy. And they, Bob, the way he announces it keeps everybody on their toes until he says it. And he said, runner up. And I'm like, that's me. Jazzy or Jess. And he's like, and I'm like, oh shit. And I just went, and I said out loud, I was like, oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. And Jody, and I'm like, I'm blacking out, and Jody is standing to my left, and she held my hand. And like, that's why I love our fellow athletes, because we literally keep each other standing. So
that's so good.
But yeah, the first thing out of my mouth was, oh shit, is this real? This is real? Oh shit. And I'm like, I wonder if they could hear that, because I said it really loud.
They probably read your lips too.
Probably.
Right.
Oh God. Ooh. But and I have so many other moments, but those are like the like, hey, that just happened. Like, those are kind of more candid experiences I had. But yeah, you just got to keep going. You almost tripped. Keep going. Make them laugh. Like, connect. Yeah. So
that's so good. Well, we were gonna ask about advice, but you just gave it.
I know, right? But then you never know what another secondary one might be.
Right.
The first thing that comes to mind is go all in. Like, literally, you got to go all in. Whatever it is in life, in your profession or your craft in the sport, whatever it is. That's my advice, because it's advice I had to give myself. And I am now living life very differently because I am going all into the things that I love.
Nice.
If you find that you're stressed or you're conflicted or you're in disarray, whether it's mind or body, there's something in your life that needs to be released. And that can look different each time, because it's not just a one-time event in our lives, right? That can look different for all of us. It could be something so simple like a time commitment. Release it, because you need that time for something different or for rest or whatever it is. If it's a job, I'm not telling y'all quit your jobs or do anything like that,
Right.
but
Beyonce
you've gotta,
2.0.
right? But you've got to consider, well, what else can I do? Because something's off, right? Listen to your bodies. Listen to your bodies. When you learn to go all in to something you love, you will become so in tune with yourself. And that's where intuition comes in. Trust your intuition. So those are my two things. Go all in to whatever in your life you want to do, not just bodybuilding. Just go all in. Give it your all. Don't half-ass it. And the second thing is trust your gut. Trust your intuition. You are probably going to be right. When something's off and you feel it, you've got to trust it, whether it's a show you pick or whatever, any decision. You just got to trust your gut with it. So those are my two pieces of advice, and it goes for life, career, bodybuilding, all of it. Go all in and trust yourselves with it.
Nice. Very nice. Okay. That's very good. That's good stuff. So, a different question, and then we're going to give you the opportunity to tell our listeners where they can find you, what you're into these days, and so on and so forth. So, one of the things I had mentioned at CCTS that we decided we want to hear from other people that we talk to is the difference between wanting to compete and wanting to be competitive. So I'll ask it in two different ways, and you can decide which one you want to answer first, or only. So, at what point did you decide you knew you wanted to be competitive, or you wanted to compete or be competitive? Or tell us what the two mean to you, like what the differences are. Either one of those we'll take.
Okay. My brain kind of wants to answer them simultaneously, so I'm gonna
That's
just
fine.
wing it. So choosing to compete versus being competitive, you have to kind of take a step back and understand why you are wanting to compete. Once you understand your why, then you will understand whether you want to compete just to compete or if you want to compete to be competitive. It's all a matter of the value you place on your why, in my opinion and in my experience. For me, I decided to compete because I wanted to, not because I needed to have something to do, but it's something that I thought I would try. Let me try this. Let me be open to it because it's completely foreign to anything I've ever been exposed to. So I want to try it. I may not like it because I will advise like my posing clients or anyone that I run across in the bodybuilding world that I am able to have interaction with. You may not like it, but if you don't try, you're never going to know, ever. You may be stage shy. You may love everything about the prep process. You may love the lifestyle. You may freeze on stage. That may be a sign you either need to work on it or you need to not, that's not part of what you're doing, right? For me, when I realized I was competitive was in 2020 when my husband shook out of me the fact that I am not a victim. So when I released the victim mentality of, and this is raw. This is raw. So as competitors, what do? This is human nature. We compare ourselves to others. And in 2020, when all the craziness went down, all I would say around this house was, but so and so has a home gym, and so does this, and so has that, and so this, that, and the other. And we had a come to Jesus moment. That man keeps me honest. And he pointed out, you are playing a victim. This is the first time the world is hearing this, because I've not talked to any single soul about this. But that was the moment that I realized I am competitive because I snapped out of victim mentality. Because I don't need to have what she has or what that one has access to. I've got what I've got. So I just have to turn it on. And guess what happened? I started becoming successful in the IFBB. So the second you get out of your ass and stop being a victim, you will succeed and you will be competitive. That's the difference.
That's good.
That's raw. I'm like, oh,
raw.
Right. I was like, I have nothing else.
I don't know if I was ready for that.
Right.
You weren't expecting that.
I was.
That's a
I
mic
don't know
drop.
what I was expecting, but it definitely hit.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I felt that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Wow.
That's
Oh my gosh. I'm not ready to end this, but
Me neither. But Steph's on that East Coast. I know that life. It's what it's a close
And
to
still
10.
at work,
I'm like
too.
counting with my fingers. I'm like,
Mhm.
oh no. Oh. But you're making this work. So you are prime examples of how to make this work. So
Mhm.
if you all can do it, our audience can do whatever they set their mind to.
Facts.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes.
we definitely
Yes.
have to have you back on. There's so many more things that we could just talk about.
Mhm.
You are a gem.
Part 2, 3, and 4.
I'm there.
Facts.
I'm there.
All right, guys. So I guess I'll do the honor because I don't think any of us really want to. We don't want to say see you later.
Rip the band-aid. It'll be a see you later.
Right.
That's
I
all.
It
know.
will definitely see you later.
Yeah, for sure.
If we
But
have to beg, we're gonna have you back.
No, I'm there. I'm yours. I'm yours. I'm yours.
Awesome.
absolutely. And okay, so you know what? We're just gonna say that this is the real raw real. Thank you guys for joining us. We've had Dr. Jessica Wilson sharing all of the goodness. And she'll be back. So we're not even gonna say bye. We're gonna say see you
Right.
later because we're coming back for more.
Right.
I'm here
And
for it.
before we come
Host,
back,
Brandy,
hold
Stephanie.
on. Before we
Oh,
come
oh, oh.
back or have her back, tell us where we can find you, or tell us where everybody else can find you, and what you're
Yes.
getting into and what you're
Yes.
promoting.
All right. So you can find me on Instagram, and my handle is real easy. One word, Jess Fit Vet. So JESSFITV as a veterinarian, ET. So that is my Instagram. You can also find me on Facebook. That page needs a little revamp, but it's going to be the same, facebook.com/JessFitVet or /JessFitVet. And then same on YouTube. I do have a YouTube channel. It is in need of some love because it's been several years. I only have a few things up on some veterinary stuff, but that page is going to get a revamp soon. And that handle is also the same. So you go to YouTube, just type in Jess Fit Vet, you will find me. Again, really limited content, and it's very old there, but it's going to get worked soon. I'm also on Twitch. I don't stream often, but on Twitch, I'm Dr. Jess Fit Vet, DRJESSFITVET. And then let me think, what else? I think that's all I got so far, but website is under construction. So that's going to be announced when it's ready. I'm not rushing any of this. And I'm going to announce it here. I'm currently 5 weeks out, close to 4 weeks out. From the Wasatch Warrior. So announcement. We're hopping into the Wasatch Warrior, and we're gonna go from there.
Nice.
Yes,
Do we need to circle
it.
back, y'all? I'm joking. Nice.
Yes.
Very cool. Well, I hope that, this year gives you so much more than, 2022, even though you still reached the mountaintop at the end of the year. Hopefully this year you feel it more.
Oh, I'm
I
already
like that.
there.
That was a good one.
Already there.
All the
Already
feels.
there.
Yeah.
All
Well,
the
we're
feels.
rooting for you.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you
I'm rooting
so
for
much.
you. And
Oh,
I
thank
am
you.
rooting for you. So that's the beautiful thing about our bodybuilding world is we're human beings that care about each other and respect each other and want to share our stories so that we can serve as examples. I consider us servant leaders, if you kind of want to look at it from that perspective. So I'm hopeful that the examples of my life that I have shared and the experiences that I am getting to live with all of you guys following along to some capacity, I just hope to inspire you all to live the life you want to live. You can live your dream life. I promise you. So go back to that childhood memory that you had, as crazy and as big as it can seem, and just reverse engineer it. Just figure out how to get there, and you will get there, because if you wish it, it's already done. I believe in it.
Nice. That's
Cool.
definitely the pin drop. All right, Yolanda. I interrupted you the first time. Go
No,
for it,
girl,
girl.
it was good. Steph, take it.
So it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot.
No,
A
that
lot
was
to
great.
cover. But
What we're gonna say, signing out. I mean, this is
signing
the first
out.
inaugural, so we actually have no clue.
Right?
Well, I
We loved
guess.
having you on, and we will see you again soon.
Thank you
Absolutely.
so much. And I'm so excited for the launch of this podcast. Guys, you're going to learn so much. You're going to get that behind the scenes, sneak peek to what our lives are really like. And again, hopefully you can take something away that can enhance your life, just like the sport has brought us together. Find your communities out there, because your people are out there. You just gotta stop looking and they'll show up. So that's how I
That's so
want to leave
good.
it. So till next time, right?
Till next time, this is the Real Raw Real podcast. We appreciate you, Dr. Wilson. All of her information will be in the show notes along with ours. And if you enjoyed this podcast episode, make sure to subscribe, like, and share with a friend so that we can get the word out and build this community together. Good night, y'all.
Okay.
Good night.
Bye.
Thanks for joining, guys. Have a good night.